you very much. Well, thank you so much to A Woman's Place for inviting me. Thank you to Anne for that lovely introduction, actually perfect introduction, given what I'm going to say and going to talk about. I'm absolutely thrilled and honoured to be here talking to such a large audience of fearless, passionate and committed feminist sisters. And I think I can see some brothers as well, actually. It's been a while since I've talked at public events about gender identity. Yeah, I've been off for over a year, engaged in the ultimate exercise of my cisgender privilege, having and raising a baby. So I also hope you can forgive me because that baby has been poorly for the past week, and so all of my time and energy has been taken up caring for her. So I've not had a chance to make my slides as pretty as I might otherwise have done. So these are some very basic, very poor slides, and I apologise for that. In many ways, I think the political situation has got significantly worse in the time that I've been away and not talking about this. It seems that political parties on all parts of the political spectrum have endorsed self-declaration of gender. And it seems that all political parties now are supporting introducing significant changes to the Gender Recognition Act. As well as that, I think the response to opposition seems to have got even more vicious. Right? The climate has become even more autocratic and doctrinaire than it was before, it seems to me. It's even more hostile to free and open debate. But actually, in spite of all that, I've never felt as positive and as optimistic as I do at the moment about our chances of resisting these proposed changes and resisting the introduction of this new legislation. Seeing the amazing work that's being done by all of these different women's organisations, these grassroots organisations that are popping up to fight these changes. The work that's being done by women like Judith and Kiri and Ruth at Women's Place UK. Events like this are being organised all over the country. Women are turning out in their hundreds to see them. So there's clearly a huge appetite amongst women to come to events like this. And I think there's huge opposition amongst women to these changes that are being proposed. So this grassroots sisterhood is rising up. And for me, one of the most sort of important and exciting things about that is that sisterhood is kind of largely made up of ordinary women. Now, what I mean by ordinary women is that these are women who are not necessarily lifelong activists, not academics, not lifelong campaigners. A lot of them never even thought of themselves as feminists. I think they certainly wouldn't have called themselves radical feminists, right? But all of these women are being mobilised in their droves. So Mum's Net is like on a hotbed of radical feminism. And that has made me so optimistic that we can resist these changes. And it's also in one way made me oddly grateful that these changes have been proposed to begin with. Because if the ideology of gender identity had not emerged, I think a lot of women would not have been mobilised and would not have found their way to radical feminism. And I include myself amongst that. I did not think of myself as a radical feminist. I did not call myself a radical feminist. I didn't know anything about radical feminism until I learned about the ideology of gender identity, and I thought, hang on, something's wrong here. So it's mobilising women, and that in itself, I think, is hugely exciting. And so there's a moment here that we should actually be quite positive. It's not all doom and gloom, right? Now, when I've talked about gender identity in the past, and I've given public talks about this in the past, I've usually given some version of the same talk. It's a talk I gave for the first time about a couple of years ago in Coventry, and I've given it several times since. And what I do in that talk is I examine some of the problems with the ideology of gender identity, looking at its incoherence, trying to show that this ideology is built on very shaky philosophical and conceptual foundations. Like the concepts underpinning it are just incoherent. And that there's a lack of scientific evidence as well underpinning the ideology. I'm not going to talk about that today. Because I think many of you here will have seen that already. You might have come to see me, or you might have watched it on YouTube. If you haven't, it's on YouTube, you can watch it. But also, I think there's no point preaching to the converted. Right? I think if you've come here tonight, you're probably already on board with the idea that there are some very serious problems with the ideology of gender identity, and you don't need me to explain them to you. You probably know them just as well as I do right now. You're reading this stuff as much as I am. I'm no expert on this any more than any of you are. Right? You don't need me to explain to you what the problems are with this ideology, so I'm not going to do that. Also, there's another reason why I want to talk about something different, and that's because I'm no longer convinced that making those arguments over and over is actually helping to advance our cause anymore. I think all of those arguments are sound. I think the reasoning is correct, of course I do, right? I think the logic is absolutely perfect. I think all of the evidence and the arguments and the good reasoning is on our side. Our conclusions are watertight. And yet still that's not enough, right? If logic and good arguments and evidence were enough to win this battle, we wouldn't need to be here tonight. We would have won it long ago. These proposals wouldn't even be on the table if all that was needed was good arguments and good evidence, because we have all of that. We've got all of the good evidence on our side, all of the arguments on our side, all of the logic on our side. And yet still, I don't think we're winning this battle at the moment. And I do believe that we are fighting a battle. We are fighting a battle to preserve women's spaces, to preserve women's resources. And all of that is a more fundamental battle for our own boundaries, for our own survival, for the right for us to associate freely, to exclude people as we see fit from those associations, the right to say no, which is the most feminist right there can be. That's the most basic, essential feminist right, the right for us to say no. And we are battling for that. And my worry is that at the moment we're not winning that battle, despite having all of the best arguments and all of the best evidence, right? So clearly, good arguments are not enough. Exposing the holes in this ideology is not enough. So we're not just fighting a battle of logic and arguments, we're fighting a battle of the hearts as well as minds. And I'm no longer convinced that making those same arguments that I've made many, many times about how incoherent gender identity is, how completely incoherent this ideology is, I'm no longer convinced that that's helping to win that battle for hearts as well as minds. Because let's face it, right, you don't need a PhD in philosophy to see why defining a woman as anyone who identifies as a woman is a bit problematic. Yeah. You don't need a PhD in philosophy to know that's bollocks. The fact is, people who endorse this political ideology, people who endorse this view that a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman, they know just as well as we do that that's bollocks, right? They can see just as well as we can the holes in that. The problem is that they just don't care. And the reason I think, I'm not attributing malice to anybody. I'm not attributing heartlessness to anybody. I think the reason that they don't care about the holes in this ideology is because they've concluded that it's more important to be nice, it's more important to be kind, than it is for your ideology to be coherent or to accurately describe the world. And, mistakenly in my view, they believe that endorsing gender identity politics is the kind, nice, empathetic, compassionate thing to do. So they are choosing what they see as compassion over truth. Right? But what that means is that the battleground for us is going to be on the terrain of compassion. Right? We have to demonstrate that not only is their political ideology incoherent, it's also not compassionate. That if you want to be an empathetic, kind, caring, compassionate person, you should reject that ideology. Showing empathy and solidarity with marginalised groups actually requires us to reject gender identity politics. But that's what we need to prove, and that my worry is that we're not winning that argument at the moment. That's the battle we're not winning. So that's why I want to talk about something different to what I've talked about in the past. I think there's a good chance that you're going to disagree with some of what I'm going to say. You might disagree with a lot of what I'm going to say. I think that there's a good chance that even this self-selecting audience of people who are not on board with this ideology might not like a lot of what I'm going to say. But I think that's good, I think that's valuable, I think that's useful. But I'm uncertain about a lot of what I'm going to say myself, right? This is me testing out some ideas. I'm really trying to start a conversation. I just want to have a conversation with you about some ideas. And at the end of tonight, you might have convinced me that I'm wrong about all of this, and I'm okay with that. So I'm not hugely committed to it, but I want to start this conversation. And what I want to talk about is tactics and strategy in this battle that we're fighting, right? This battle of women's spaces and resources. So what I'm going to do is I want to offer just a few tentative suggestions for what we need to be doing if we're going to win this battle. If we're going to show that ours is actually the empathetic we have and the compassionate response. Right, so the first thing I'm going to say, and I think this is going to be controversial, you might not like this, and this is going to be controversial for everyone. People on all sides of this debate aren't going to like this. I think that the question, what is a woman? And the question, are trans women women? I think that those questions are politically not very important and not very interesting.
Hear, hear.
Great! That's my first tentative suggestion. The question of what is a woman, the question of whether trans women are women is politically not an important one, not an interesting one, and we need to stop wasting our time answering those questions. We need to stop being drawn into debates about those things. So, I realise that is a very strange claim to make, especially coming from me, because I have spent a lot of time thinking and talking and writing about the definition of womanhood and the absurdity of the notion that we can define a woman as anyone who says she's a woman. Obviously, personally, I think they're very interesting and important questions. Philosophically, conceptually, I think they're important. But in terms of our current battle, which is the battle to preserve women's spaces and women's resources, I think it's becoming a red herring. I think it's becoming a dead end, and we'd be better off going down some other route. What actually matters, as I'm sure that we can agree about this, is not how we define or label individuals, right? What matters, it doesn't matter who belongs to which category or group. What matters is how we treat people, what matters is how we behave towards people. What matters in terms of women are what rights and responsibilities we assign to women and what resources we allocate to them and put aside for them. And so what I'm going to say is that if we could concede, if we could say that trans women are women, but if we could at the same time say that natal women are distinct in many ways from trans women, and that natal women represent a real and significant political class, that natal women have their own distinct needs and interests and concerns, that natal women have a right to organise politically around their shared experiences, that natal women have a right to campaign and work for policies to secure their own interests. If we could say all of that, then I would have no problem with saying, hey, trans women are women, but they're not women like natal women, and natal women have their own specific needs that we need to address separately. So I would have no problem with saying that for many purposes, trans women are women. If that didn't mean that I have to accept that trans women are women for all purposes, or that biologically female people can never have any separate spaces, can never have any separate organising, that we don't have any distinct concerns. Further to this, I think this question about whether trans women are women has just become so politically loaded, so burdened with the weight of these battles. It's just become so fraught that it's just absolutely toxic to get drawn into it. Right? The question, do you believe trans women are women, is now essentially it's a test, right? It's a trial. It's designed as a way of deciding whether or not I need to engage with you further, whether or not I need to listen to a single word you're going to say. Because if you say no, then I'm going to dismiss you instantly as a bigot, as intolerant, as a hateful person. I don't need to listen to a single other thing you're going to say. You might have some excellent arguments and evidence to offer me about the importance of sex-segregated spaces, but I'm not going to listen to any of that. Because you failed my test at the first hurdle. I asked you if you believe trans women are women, and you said no. Right? You know, we've all seen this play out on social media amongst some high-profile male journalists, right? We all know people who are engaged in this effort. Right? The fact that trans women just are women, with no further evidence or argument needed, that has now become an article of faith across the political spectrum. So that anyone who disputes it can just be immediately dismissed, immediately discredited, and cast as bigger without further engagement. Now, I'm not saying that that's fair, I'm not saying that that's right, but that is the situation we're in. And so when all of the people with the power to determine policy, and when all of the people with the power and the influence to shape legislation have already signed up to this, have already accepted this piece of dogma from the start, we can't afford to be dismissed so easily, right? We can't afford to be ignored and dismissed by every single person who's making decisions on this issue because we insist on saying, no, I do not believe that trans women are women. This is a game that is rigged from the start, so we're better off not trying to play it, in my view. And the other thing I think about this is that this is a conversation that we shouldn't enter into, because when we do, we're letting other people set the terms of the debate for us, right? As soon as we get drawn into a discussion about whether trans women are women, what does it mean to be a woman, and are trans women a woman? As soon as we get into that, well, we inevitably end up discussing trans women's needs and trans women's concerns. What are their problems? What are the rates of violence against trans women? What are the rates of self-harm and suicide against trans women? We inevitably end up talking about what trans women need, and we stop talking about women and what women need, right? We're letting other people set the agenda and other people dictate the terms of this debate for us as soon as we start talking about whether trans women are women. So I think that what we need to do if we want to win this argument is we need to seize back control of that debate and seize back the terms of the agenda for ourselves. So instead of talking about what trans women need or what trans women want, I think we need to talk about females. We need to talk about what natal women, what females need, what our interests are, what our concerns are. What are our shared experiences? What are our shared interests? What are our problems and concerns? What provisions and resources is it reasonable to set aside for us? None of that focus on females is to deny that trans women have their own distinct and significant challenges and difficulties, that they will have their own specific needs that must be addressed. I think that's true, depending on how you define trans women, of course, which we'll hopefully come on to. But it's simply to say that while those issues are real, they're not the same issues, by and large, as those experienced by women or female people. And that we have a right to focus our limited time and energy on females. I've only got so many hours in my day for campaigning, you know? We all of us work full time and have commitments. I've got limited time to focus my energy and resources on, and it's legitimate for me to focus that on females. And other people can take up the battle for trans women if they want to, if they choose to. But it's legitimate for us to say, we are going to focus on females because we are a group that have historically and can continue to experience oppression, exploitation, domination, and marginalisation. So for that reason, I think we need to seize back control of this debate, and instead of getting drawn into answering questions that are easy for our opponents, that are designed to be a trap for us, we need to start asking some questions of our own. You know, it's very easy for Owen Jones to say, trans women are women, trans women are women, trans women are women, over and over and over again. That's very easy for him, it's an easy win for him. What's going to be much more difficult for them is to ignore some of the questions I think we should be asking them about female people. So here are the questions that I think that we should be asking, that we should be posing. Now I've put these on the slides. This is all on my blog, so don't really have to write anything down posted. You can find it on my blog. Is that all right? Just shut me up for another week. Okay. So this is the first question we need to be asking of politicians. Is being born with a kind of body that has the potential to gestate children, a body with a uterus, ovaries, and a vagina, is that of any political significance? Does having that kind of body have any bearing on a person's likely opportunities and outcomes? Secondly, have people with those kinds of bodies historically been subject to any distinct forms of injustice, oppression, exploitation, or discrimination? Have they historically been subordinated to people with penises and testes? Do people with those kinds of bodies continue to be subject to any distinct forms of injustice, oppression, exploitation, or discrimination? Do people with those kinds of bodies often suffer physical and sexual violence, abuse and harassment, perpetrated by the people with penises and testes? Should people born with those kinds of bodies have a label with which to define themselves? Does our language need a word to refer to the people with uteruses and ovaries? We've got to hope people are going to answer that question with a yes. They're embarrassing. Do people born with those kinds of bodies have a right to organise politically around their shared experiences and to campaign and work on policies to secure their own interests? Do people born with those kinds of bodies have a right to associate freely with other people with those kinds of bodies and to have some separate spaces for their safety, privacy and dignity? Do people with those kinds of bodies have a right to some spaces where people with penises and testes are not permitted to enter? Do people born with those kinds of bodies sometimes have a right to policies and resources designated towards rectifying their historical and continued marginalisation? Now, it seems to me that if you don't answer yes to those questions, you've no business calling yourself a feminist, right? You've no business calling yourself a progressive, really. And I think most people on the left are going to answer yes to all of those questions. Some people on the right might not. I think some conservatives might resist that. But I think most people who are broadly progressive, it's going to be very awkward and uncomfortable for them to have to say no. They might want to say no because it really doesn't fit with their ideology that they've been so committed to, this ideology of gender identity. They might have some problems with consistency. But ultimately, I think they're going to struggle to say no to these questions. And my view is that if you cannot say yes to these questions, you've no business calling yourself a feminist. But if you say yes to those questions, you absolutely shouldn't be signed up to the ideology of gender identity, because that ideology rejects all of these things. It cannot make space for them. There's another question I'd like to ask, which is there any other protected characteristic where self-declaration is sufficient for legal recognition and for access to all the resources provided to people with that characteristic? And if not, what's special about gender? That, I think, has to be answered. Is there any other group that you can just declare yourself a member of with no further tests? And if not, then why have we established that gender is different? These are the questions that we need to be focusing on. We need to be proactively framing the debate around these issues rather than letting the other side frame the debate around the needs of trans people. Because once we focus on these questions, the case for women's spaces becomes unanswerable. Now, obviously, I can see the problem of what I'm saying here. I know what I'm thinking, and I'm going to address it. How can we even talk about this stuff if we can't even name ourselves, right? Look how awkward it has been for me to frame these questions. I've had to talk about people with the kinds of bodies that can gestate children. People with uterus and ovaries, right? How can we advocate for our own spaces? How can we advocate for our own resources? How can we advocate for the importance of being able to organise politically and associate freely if we can't even name ourselves? So then you might say, so we have to have a debate about what it means to be a woman, because that's exactly what's at stake here. We don't even have a language with which to describe ourselves. And obviously I understand that, I get that, I agree with it. And I feel angry and frustrated that we're being robbed of our terminology, that we're being robbed of the language in which to describe ourselves. It's quite a good illustration of the situation, the madness of the situation in which we find ourselves in. This tweet I found by journalist Laurie Penny, and I think this really demonstrates the craziness of the situation we're in. So Laurie's obviously writing an article about women's reproductive rights, and she says, "Someone tell me, what's a short and non-essentialist way to refer to people with uterus and all that stuff?" And she goes on to say, what's the concrete on female? Or biologically female? I ask partly because I want to talk about this stuff without pissing people off. But as a writer, I prefer to do it seamlessly, and preferably without unwieldy placeholders or putting a disclaimer in place. And then she says, I believe passionately that we can talk about gender identity and gender fluidity and the biological basis of misogyny. But with what words? Now, I sort of feel for Laurie here. Because look at her, like she's tying herself up in knots. She's trying to be a good ally. She's trying to be consistent to the ideology. But she's terrified of using the wrong words for fear of offending somebody or excluding somebody. And as she clearly knows, it isn't just the meaning of the word woman that's become politically charged, so is the word female, as she clearly shows. And so we now routinely see people saying things like this. These are some tweets that I've taken from some trans activists or transgender people on Twitter. Yes, sorry, 2 more minutes. So this is a trans woman saying trans women are biologically female, get the fuck over it. This is somebody talking about a trans woman saying that she's a natal woman. This is my absolute favourite, right? This is a prominent transgender activist saying, I'm reclaiming cis. I mean, you can be kind of all you like, we never wanted it. My point about this is that it's difficult for me to say, look, we need to stop talking about what a woman is when every single label that we try to choose for ourselves will eventually be taken. I get that, right? That it would, if we say that trans women are women, then we'll have to say that they're female, then we have to say they're biologically female, then we have to say they're native women. How can we advocate for our own liberation if we can't even name ourselves? So I do get that. And I suppose I don't really have a good answer, except all I want to say is I feel like the battle over the word woman might have been lost. If not, maybe we can come back to it. Because at the moment, we've got an even more pressing battle, and that is the battle for female-only space. And I worry that we're diverting so much of our energy and so much of our woman power to arguments about what it means to be a woman. We're kind of losing sight of all of these other battles that are going on, which is to preserve female space. And so I want to say, I think arguing about terminology is just a waste of our time. Same with arguing about pronouns, I think it's a waste of our time. Whatever language you need to use to get yourself heard, use it, right? If you have to talk about natal women, if you have to talk about females, God forbid if you have to talk about cis women to get someone to listen to you. But if it gets us having that conversation where otherwise we're being ignored and dismissed, I think it might be worth doing. Okay, the last thing I want to say about strategy is just this. We need to be brave. We need to find our courage and we need to speak out. Like I said at the start, I feel so positive and optimistic seeing how many of us are here tonight. It took courage for all of us just to be here. But we need to dig deep, we need to find more courage, and we need to keep speaking out. The reason this ideology has been able to take hold is because it's not because most people agree with it, it's because most people are too afraid to speak out against it. We all need to start doing that in all aspects of our life. I promise you, if you do it, you're not alone, right? You've got a whole sisterhood supporting you. And as someone who's been talking about this for a while, I promise you, that sisterhood will be there for you. It has been for me, and it will be for you. So you're not alone. Despite the fact that the political establishment seems to be against us at the moment, I really do believe we can resist these proposed changes, because I don't think they can ignore all 35 million of us. Okay, I'll stop there.